Like Superman over at DC Comics, Marvel's Cyclops has always been jokingly referred to as the X-Men's very own Blue Boy Scout. He's the mutants' resident goody two-shoes, and if hardcore Wolverine and Jean Grey shippers are to be believed, an absolute cuck. So it might come as a big surprise for you to find out that the visor-wearing X-Man became one of Marvel's most dangerous villains at a certain point in Marvel history. It all started when Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, went insane after the death of her kids and used her powers to alter the very fabric of reality to decimate the entire mutant population of the Marvel Universe with 3 words: no more mutants. In the aftermath, all of the X gene carrying individuals of their world disappeared, leaving a measly 198 mutants left in the world. To make matters worse, Scarlet Witch's spell seemingly prohibited the birth of any new mutants, which would eventually drive their species to extinction. Well, Cyclops just turned out to be one of these endangered creatures, and he took it upon himself to maintain the survival of Marvel's mutants. Little did he know that he would ultimately go down a destructive path that would cause a divide in all of mutantdom. To begin his quest in restoring his species to its former glory, Cyclops rounded up the remaining mutants in the Marvel Universe, inviting them to be part of the Xavier Institute and live there in Asylum. So far, so good, right? Keep your endangered pals in one place to keep them safe. But there's one problem. Cyclops would eventually learn that Professor Xavier wasn't the purely benevolent mentor that he always thought the man was. This happened when Scott discovered that Professor Xavier not only hid the fact that Cyclops and Alex, aka Havoc, had a secret third brother named Gabriel Summers, but that Charles had also basically created a suicide squad in the past to save their fellow mutants from the grips of the sentient island Krakoa. Upon finding this out, Cyclops lashed out and basically branded Professor X as a traitor to his own kind. And at this point, Scott has planted the seed in his mind that he himself might be the messiah that all of mutantdom needs, not Xavier. Cyclops then took over the X-Men. Well, he essentially took over all of what remains of the mutant species and eventually discovered that a mutant named Hope Summers was born in spite of the curse that the Scarlet Witch placed on their species. The new leader of the X-Men then went to unprecedented lengths to protect Hope Summers, believing that she's more than just a child. She's a symbol of, well, hope for all of mutantdom. And by unprecedented, this is the point in X-Men's history when we see Cyclops turn from bona fide superhero to morally gray revolutionary. Most notable of his efforts to protect Hope is his formation of X-Force, a Black Ops team with the authority to kill anyone who might harm the child and put mutantdom's survival at risk. But that's just the tip of the X-Gene iceberg. At this point, Cyclops has become so blinded by his desperation and the burden of saving all of mutantdom that he basically declared that he wasn't concerned if any or all of the other mutants died as long as Hope Summers remains alive. Do you see the hole Scott's been digging getting deeper? Because this is the point in Marvel history where Cyclops went from a morally gray mutant revolutionary to a certified fanatic. His opinions about how mutantdom should survive, in other words, everybody can go die as long as Hope Summers lives, and the fact that his fellow X-Men learned about his formation of X-Force would ultimately lead to a divide between mutant society. On one side, Cyclops and the other mutants who agreed with him, such as Emma Frost, Magneto, and Magik, formed their own X-Team and remained with the Xavier Institute for Gifted Youngsters on an island they called Utopia, in San Francisco. Opposing him, unsurprisingly, was Wolverine and the other X-members like Storm, Iceman, and Angel, who then founded the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. Now, if your ideologies line up with Emma Frost's or Magneto's, that's probably a red flag. But hey, Cyclops has become so blinded with his mission to save mutantdom at this point that he couldn't see the forest for the trees. It all came to a head when Cyclops discovered that the Phoenix Force, one of the most powerful entities in the Marvel Universe, is headed for Earth. He planned on merging Hope Summers with it, thinking that their combined powers could restore the mutant population. Captain America and the Avengers catch wind of this plan and confront Cyclops about it. They demand to take Hope Summers into their custody to prevent the Phoenix Force's arrival, as they believe that it could cause a world-ending threat. As expected, Cyclops didn't agree with this and he and his mutant loyalists fight the Avengers. Eventually, their confrontation would see Cyclops, Namor, Colossus, Emma Frost, and Magik on the moon. Yes, the moon, where the Phoenix Force would end up possessing each and every one of them. This resulted in their quintet reshaping Earth into a fascist state, as none of them were able to control the power of the Phoenix surging through their bodies. For his part, Cyclops became so power-hungry that he ended up murdering Emma Frost, who was his lover and right-hand woman at the time, to steal her portion of the Phoenix Force. Ultimately, the Phoenix would fully corrupt Scott and he'd kill Professor X in the process. He was only stopped through the combined efforts of Wolverine and his X-Team along with the Avengers, which would see Hope absorbing the Phoenix Force and using its power to restore the mutant population. So, in a way, Cyclops was right all along. Psyche's villainous rampage only ended when he was imprisoned after the crimes he committed under the Phoenix's influence, but his fanatical mission didn't end there. Scott would eventually break out of prison with the help of Magneto and Magic. They kill a few inmates and disfigure its warden. And you know what? They probably deserve it for being a bunch of mutant-hating a-holes. He would then continue with his fellow mutant fugitives as an underground fringe group dedicated to rescuing their kind by any means necessary, even killing non-mutant law enforcement officers who stand in their way. This proves the old saying that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and that's what makes him one of the best villains Marvel has produced in recent years. But if nothing else, there's one lesson we should take away here. It's that maybe we shouldn't piss off Cyclops. What do you think of Scott Summers' heel turn in the Marvel Universe? Do you prefer this version of the character over his original heroic portrayals? Let's talk about it in the comments section. And for more amazing pop culture content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications. We'll see you soon, only here at KRTV Marvel.